Rams house, day 2 of the NFL draft is over, and we're going to talk about how the Rams did with their 2 picks on today's episode of the Rams Report, presented by Prize Picks. Welcome in, guys. I know this is not exactly what you were probably hoping for on day 2 of the draft, when we talked about what might happen at the beginning of the day, when we talked about everything that might happen in the draft coming into it to begin with, everything that we've discussed over the last couple of months. It seems like none of it is coming to fruition, and that is because I think at the end of the day, and this is something I have to admit to you guys, and I think honestly every Rams creator, every Rams reporter, every Rams-centric media person would have to cop to this. We all misjudged this team and their intentions in the 2026 NFL Draft. Every single one of us, I think, believed wholeheartedly, at least on my end, that the Rams were all in on 2026, that 2026 was a Super Bowl season for this team. And I don't mean to say that they don't believe that they can compete for a Super Bowl in 2026, but what I think is becoming apparent is that sustained success is just as, if not arguably more important to this team than winning one in 2026 is. I think that is clear from this draft. I think it is absolutely clear. The pick of Ty Simpson, someone who will not contribute in year 1 if everything goes to plan. The pick of Max Klare, who we will dive into more, but we already talked about it a little bit, not likely to contribute in year 1. And then Keagen Trost, who fits into a lot of those categories himself, although he's probably my favorite pick of our draft so far. But let's open with some Max Klare discussion. Obviously, we talked about Max a little bit earlier today when the pick happened. If you caught our 61 immediate reaction, and that was when it dawned on me. The moment the Max Klare pick came in, and it wasn't any of the available receivers, and several guys had slid into the Rams' lap. Chris Bell was still on the board at that point. Skyler Bell was still on the board at that point. Elijah Surratt is still on the board right now. And instead they go Max Klare. And I don't hate Max Klare as a player at all. I don't want that to be the impression. I don't even hate this pick. I think it's a pick that makes sense in the context of understanding what the Rams view this draft as helping them do. And that is truly laying the foundation for success beyond 2026. This is a pick that, to me, feels like it is about what the tight end room looks like in 2027 and the role that Max Klare could play for this team after Colby Parkinson, Davis Allen, and Tyler Higbee are off the roster. I think that's what it's about. Les Snead said in the press conference yesterday, you can't draft players with an idea of when they will play, but I think they are doing that. I think he's lying when he says that, to be completely honest with you guys. Look, it's okay for NFL general managers to lie, but I think they have a vision for these picks, and it is not immediate. It is not a vision that involves these guys contributing on day 1. It is not a vision that involves a lot of these guys being major role players in day 1. I think if that happens, if Max Klare has a day 1 role, it's either because he blows everybody away in training camp or because injuries came up. And I think in the Rams world, that's fine. I think in Sean McVay and Les Snead's world, it is okay to take a tight end who is likely to be a solid player for us for 2 to 3 years, even if he does not contribute in year 1. And you know how I know that? Because they just did it last year with Terrence Ferguson. They just did this last year with Terrence Ferguson. What did Terrence Ferguson do in year 1? Not really all that much. I know a lot of you guys are upset about that. I still have a lot of faith in Terrence Ferguson in year 2. I think we've got to view this pick the same way we viewed that one. It's a guy for next year at the end of the day, even though that's frustrating. And we're going to talk more about Keagen Trost in just 1 minute. We're going to dive into that pick at the tail end of the 3rd round in just a second. But before we do, I got to give a shout out to the sponsor of today's video. And guys, that is the good people over at Prize Picks, America's #1 sports picks app. If you love daily fantasy sports or you just want to make watching sports even more exciting, you've got to try Prize Picks. It's a great time to get started on Prize Picks, too, with playoff basketball in full swing and the baseball season underway as well. There's no better place to cash in on all that action than Prize Picks. You just pick 2 to 6 players and you select more or less on stat projections, whether it's points, rebounds, assists, three-pointers. If you're more of a seam head, you could choose from hits, home runs, and strikeouts. PrizePicks also has awesome social features that allow you to easily tailor-fade your friends or your favorite creators. I'm on there, Jackson Durham, with no spaces. If you guys want to drop a follow, you can see all the lineups that I've been placing lately. And if you never feel like making a lineup yourself, you can always just tail or fade my picks. And here's some that I've got put together for you guys right now. Some of the season-long projections. We're going with the less on Fernando Mendoza, the less on Jeremiah Love, but the more on Jordan Tyson. So you guys could tail me on this lineup. You could fade me on this lineup. Whatever you do, just do it at PrizePicks. And if you're a brand new user, when you download the PrizePicks app today, use code HMA when you play your first $5 lineup to receive $50 in lineups. That's code HMA when you play your first $5 lineup to get an extra $50 in lineups with PrizePicks. The clickable link to download the app is in the comments and in the description. Let's talk Keagen Trost. I like this pick, guys. I actually like this one a lot. This is my favorite pick of the Rams draft so far. I told you guys at 61, what I thought they might do at 93 is take an offensive tackle. And we've got Trost listed as a guard. I would say he's more of a tackle, but I think what's fantastic about him is you could say he's both. It's not wrong. It's not inaccurate to call him a guard because he played every position along the offensive line at some point in his career except for center. He has played 4 of the 5 spots along the offensive line. And part of the reason why he did that is because if you're not familiar with this cat, he is 25 years old. He is a 7th-year senior, and he has played at 4 different schools. 4 different schools. And look, Tom Downey, I love Tom Downey. I respect Tom Downey. He's got him ranked as the 12th best guard and the 146th player in this class. I think he's better than that, guys. So don't get hung up on Downey's ranking there. Don't get hung up on that. Understand that this is a guy that comes in and offers you immediate day one depth improvement. He is better than David Questenberry. He is better than A.J. Arcuri. Both of those guys stink, so that's not really a high bar to cross, but he was also the highest graded tackle in the SEC last season, the whole season, 92 overall PFF grade, which, hey, PFF not the end-all, be-all, but I think what you saw last year from Keagen Trost as he switched back to playing on the right side of the line after playing at the left side of the line. This dude played at Morgan State, Indiana State, Wake Forest, and then finished at Missouri. Wake Forest, he was the left tackle. He kicked over to right tackle, if I remember correctly, at Missouri, and finished really strong. What you could see there, from a 25-year-old offensive lineman, there is still a lot left to be unearthed in Keagen Trost. I do think his athleticism is NFL level, even though he started at a lower level of college play at Morgan State. I do think he has the kind of ability that you're looking for, and I think he projects as somebody that can contribute immediately as depth, that offers you, if injuries come up for this offensive line, which, hey, we know as well as anybody that they can, and that when they do, they freaking suck, because look, what happened last season with our guys going down? We had to slide in. His name is honestly slipping my mind. The Arizona offensive tackle that we signed last year. He had to slide in. He was terrible. His name is slipping my mind right now because I think I blocked him out of my memory because he was so freaking bad. But at the end of the day, we know how important depth along the offensive line can be. We know how important having solid pieces behind your starters is. And this is something I told you guys they would look to address almost certainly in the mid-rounds. They do it in round 3, and I love the pick of Trost because he can fill so many different roles for you. You got an injury at guard? That's okay. Trost can step in there. You got an injury at tackle on either side of the line? That's okay. Trost can step in there. The only role he can't fill for you is center at the end of the day, and that's a 4-tool guy. I mean, usually the phrase is 5-tool guy, but he's a 4-tool guy. He can fill 4 different spots for you, and I love that pick for the Rams at the end of the day. I think he's going to be a beast given time to develop. But let's talk about who we could get after on day 3. Here's a couple names to keep in mind. I think Jermod McCoy is absolutely a possibility. If he is there for you, if he continues to slide, which at this point, the idea of getting Jermod McCoy in the 6th round or trading up to get him would have been unthinkable before we got into this draft. Just unbelievable. but he slid a lot. And the explanation for why he slid is not one that I can really give you. I think we'll kind of get that information out over the next couple of months. It's not a Shedeur Sanders thing. It is injury related at the end of the day, but I can't tell you to what extent that injury is affecting Jermod McCoy. I cannot tell you where he is at medicals wise. But if the Rams feel good about the medicals, even to a small degree, I think the talent is absolutely there, and I think we absolutely have the need to continue developing depth at the corner position. You wouldn't need Jermod McCoy to be a day one contributor. You could give him time to get an extra surgery if that's what he needs, to continue that full recovery journey, to do whatever is needed to get him back to the guy that we saw in 2024. Because if you're going to have that guy in your secondary at the cost of a 6th-round pick, maybe you got to trade up to grab him in round 4 or round 5, which, again, keep this in the back of your mind as we talk about all of these targets. We don't pick until round 6, again, guys. As of right now, so it's tough to say who's going to be there in the 6th round as far as, like, day 3 targets go. I think a trade-up is absolutely possible. We heard Les Snead tell reporters, I don't really value picks on the 3rd round of this draft. I don't think there's a lot of depth to this class. Has that changed with some of these guys that were never projected to be there sliding? Maybe that totally changes the calculus of day 3 depth for Les Snead, because it just kind of seems like public perception of this draft was very disconnected from NFL team perception of this draft. Maybe Les Snead had a better idea of where people were going to fall. Again, there's a lot of unknowns in this situation. There's a lot of variables here. But I think if you are going to move up for somebody, Jermod McCoy could make a lot of sense. Jermod McCoy could be that guy that they want to go out and get. Somebody else that I think could be that guy, if Gage, you flip to the next one for me here, Kyle Lewis. I think he could be another interesting option to go chase. If you want to trade up for somebody, interior linebacker has been such a weak position for this team over the last couple of years. And I truly think it's not, I don't even think, it just isn't something that they value. We see that year after year. It has been all 14 years since Les Snead drafted a linebacker ahead of the 103rd overall selection. Shout out to Alec Ogletree. But if you do want to make a move to upgrade in this spot, and we saw him re-sign Nate Landman this season, so maybe that philosophy of Les Snead's has changed a little bit, then Kyle Lewis would be the guy to go get. I think he offers you a ton of value as an immediate upgrade. I also don't hate Malik Muhammed as a corner addition as well. Keionte Scott was on the last page. He is an interesting addition at either safety or corner. I think we'd probably use him more at corner. And then, go to this last page. Elijah Surratt, if you want a receiver, Elijah Surratt is still available. I don't know if this team is actually interested in adding a receiver because they keep passing on good options, at least options that I think are good. So whether or not there is a world in which they feel really good about Konate Mupfield and Jordan Whittington stepping up next season. I can't tell you guys I feel great about that at this point, but if those guys are ready to go, and that's what Les and Sean think, and that's why they keep passing on receivers, I think we'll kind of see that materialize tomorrow. If there's not a receiver pick, that's my take on that is going to be the Rams feel great about their depth at receiver, or they have a signing plan for Jawan Jennings. But Surratt, definitely, he might be available. Another guy that you could trade up for. I don't think any of these guys are going to slide around to you in round 6. I think almost all of these guys are true trade-up candidates. And then the last page here, we got Skyler Bell. That would be the last guy here that I would really be interested in trading up to go grab. I don't think Chandler Rivers makes a ton of sense, and I don't want Sam Hecht or Brian Parker, both center candidates that I don't really feel we need. But let me know, who is your top target for the Rams on day 3 of the draft? Who is your number 1 option for this team on the third and final day of the NFL draft? I am excited to hear from you guys. I'm excited to see you tomorrow as we wake up bright and early for some Rams draft news. It's going to be a ton of fun. I'll see you then. I know this draft has not gone the way that we wanted it to as Rams fans, but I think there might be something coming on day 3. So sit tight with these guys. Let's see what they got cooked up.